Go.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us. It's Heather Kemsky here at our office at New England Chapel. We're so glad you are here with us. Yesterday, Saturday, was an extremely busy day on the New England Chapel front, and perhaps you were part of it, and for that we say thank you. Two things were happening at the same time, and they happen to be the two announcements I'm making today. So if you didn't get to join in yesterday, you can next Saturday. So the first thing that was happening is we began our Thanksgiving Day meal collection. Every year, New England Chapel has really come together and helped provide meals for up to 80 families. So this year, we are asking people to kind of sponsor a whole meal. Now, they can do that with them by themselves. They can do it with their family. They can do it with their neighbors or a small group. But we're asking people to put together everything that we need for one Thanksgiving Day meal and drop it off at our office here at 195 Main Street. So collection started yesterday, and next Saturday we'll do the same thing. We are looking for 30 more meals. How do you get to be a part of this? You go to anychapel.org and you'll see a picture. It says, Give Thanks, Give Food. If you click on that, you will see the shopping list. So what I did is I paired up with two other people and we divided up that list. Things like fresh potatoes, carrots, rice, stuffing, canned vegetables. You put it all together and you bring it to us next Saturday. If you can't deliver it next Saturday morning, you can contact Dina and she'll make other arrangements. But wouldn't it be awesome, Cliff, at the end of this service, if we have 30 more meals, people have signed up for it and are willing to come next week and help families celebrate Thanksgiving with an awesome meal. Especially because I don't make it. Like, if it was home cooked meals by Heather, don't sign up. All right, so that is happening next Saturday. Yesterday, we also had a team of people go into our new building to begin painting the walls in there. I'm so excited. After service, I'm going to go check it out. We thank you for being there. It is an exciting time, and if you didn't get to participate yesterday, you can sign up next Saturday, the 21st. You can sign up for the whole day, which I believe is 8:30 to 4:30, or you can do a morning shift or an afternoon shift and just go in for a little bit and help paint in there. There's lots of walls to get painted, and it's really exciting to see the new building coming together. You can sign up for that online as well. So we thank you. We thank you for putting faith into action and helping us serve the community and ready our building for those yet to come. We can't wait for that. So I am going to let Jake take over. Have a great morning, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to sing a song called 10,000 Reasons. And in the chorus of the song, it says, we'll worship God's holy name. And I think a lot of people, there's a lot of confusion about what that means. And hopefully, Cliff is going to shed some light on the meaning of worship today. Holy name, sing like never Still my soul will sing your praise unending. 10,000 years and then forevermore. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. Worship His holy name. Sing like never before. Oh my soul, I will worship your holy name. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. Worship His holy name. Sing like never before. Oh my soul, I will worship your holy name. Yes, I worship your holy name. Lord, I worship your holy name.
Thank you, Jay. Man, that guy is so good. Yeah, I want to say an amen to that, the Thanksgiving food drive. It is monumentally important for us to care for our community. And this is really one of the most concrete ways we can ever do it. So listen, while you're listening to this sermon, hopefully while you're listening to this sermon and not instead of it, but go feel free to jump on your cell phone or jump on a computer or whatever and go ahead and sign up. We'd love to have 30 more sign-ups by the end of this morning so that Dina doesn't have to worry about it. Because if you don't know Dina Gauthier, she flogs her guts out, man. Not just for our church, but also for the community. So we can support both God and our community and our good friend Dina by doing that. Let me pray first and we'll get started. God, I pray that you are holding us this morning, that you're protecting us, that that you're loving us, and yeah, I know that you do, but sometimes we just need your touch. Sometimes we just need your reminder, Father. These are hard, crazy times, and I don't think I'll speak for myself. I don't think I've ever needed your touch and your presence as much as I do. As much as I have this year. And so I pray that for me, and I pray that for everybody listening. We need you, which is a good thing, because you tend to like to be around, because for whatever reason, you love us. And as fallen as we are, as broken as we are, as messed up as we are, as backwards as we are, none of those things make any difference to you, to your love for us. So, God, I pray that you help us rest in that this morning. In Christ's name, amen. So this is a very sort of Y2K thing to do, very backwards. The other day I Googled myself. Has anybody ever done that? Is that something? It's not something that you want to do, if you ever want to be impressed. As it turns out, I am not the most famous Cliff Winters, which I am very upset about personally. No, there's another Cliff Winters, and he's a fun guy. He actually died in 1960, so he predates me considerably. But he was a stunt pilot. So I don't know if you've ever seen the footage of a guy flying a biplane into a barn. If you ever see that footage, it's old footage. That guy is named Cliff Winters. That's my nom de plume, if you will, right? So I'm kind of famous secondarily in a way, right? So if you could see the pictures on the thing, there's like a picture of him dangling from the struts of an airplane, and there's one where he's like sitting on top of an airplane or standing. He does a handstand at one point on an airplane. All very vomitous things. That's not at all what I want to do with my life. But you know what? When I was younger, partly because of this Cliff Winters thing, honestly, I decided that I wanted to do some flying lessons myself. And so if you can see the picture, that is Lawrence County Air Park. It's an air park, not an airport, because It's for people who aren't any good at flying. Hi, my name is Cliff. So I took flying lessons for several months. It was a lot of fun. My flight instructor's name was Derek. Poor Derek. Yeah, that guy. So if you could see all the little wee houses around there, I don't know if they like wake up in the morning every morning just thanking God they're still alive. Because I'm telling you, like the first time we went up, I literally knew nothing, right? And so we he's like, throw the throttle forward. I'm like, throw the throttle forward, and like all of a sudden we start moving. I'm like, okay, I guess we're doing this. He's like, gently pull back on the right. And so I pulled back on the yoke, and believe it or not, we made it into like space. We were out there flying. It was awesome. But it's a very dodgy business. This learning to fly thing. Look at these controls. Like, I took many, many months of training, and I still don't know what 90% of that means. Like, there are buttons, and there are like gauges, and I don't know what they do, right? And he knew this, right? This is how you learn to fly. You just get out there, and then you learn to trust your instructor, and you learn to sort of follow your instructor. And in time, you start to learn what some of those things are, and you get a little bit better, right? But here's the problem, though. So, definitely, the first few times I went up, I was totally, totally clueless. Like, I thought this meant go up. Like, shouldn't that mean go up? No, that's not what that means, right? So we had this practice. We did this all the time, and we actually did this before we ever even got in an airplane. He's like, listen, you're going to screw up. Don't worry about it. I know how to get us out of that. When that happens, I'm going to say, I have the controls, right? I have the controls. And then you say, you've got the controls, and you let go of everything. Don't touch anything. I'll fix it. I've got it. I've got you, right? So that is how he decided he was going to save his life and the life of all those poor nearby citizens. I've got the controls. You've got the controls. That's how we're gonna manage that. I really like control. I gotta say that's really probably the primary reason I took flying lessons. The whole idea of like getting to a thin metal box and flying along at 700 miles per hour, COVID notwithstanding, right? It's like the idea that I'm going to trust this guy who I've never met, and I'm going to assume that he's good at his job. I'm going to assume that he's not drunk. I'm going to assume that he slept sometime in the last 36 hours. How do I know that? Right? So I don't love flying for that reason. And so I thought, I'll take flying lessons, and so if I die, it's going to be my own fault. Right? So that's part of the reason that I took flying lessons. I like to have control. As a matter of fact, this Christmas, because can't really go anywhere, me and some friends were going to go to the Grand Canyon. Right, and so they got an RV, a brand new RV, at least new to them RV. And so they're like, hey, Cliff, come down and we'll drive out together. And I'm like, absolutely not. I'm absolutely not going to do that. And again, COVID notwithstanding, I just don't want to ride in a metal box for 1,000 some odd miles and not be able to control the box. Like, I'm just not going to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fly into the nearest airport. I'm going to rent my own car and I'll meet you there. Thank you very much. I like being in control, and that is why worship is really hard for me. It's one of those things I get it. I wonder sometimes how much I want it. And I don't know, have you ever felt like this? Like, I just feel like worshiping God feels very the word obsequious? It's like fawning and sleazy kind of, ooh, I just don't like the idea of worshiping something or somebody. Maybe it's the control freak in me. Maybe it's coming out of my pride. And so a while back, I wanted to study worship a little bit more to see if I could sort of fix my own predicament, and I actually made it worse. The word for worship literally means to bow, and not just to bow, but to bow with your face to the. I can't even do that. Like to bow with your face to the ground, like that. That's what that word means. Now you know very clearly how much hair I don't have on the top of my head. So on the subject of pride. So that's what the word means. Proskuneo, or chava in Hebrew, Both words mean to bow, but bow all the way down. We're not talking like Poe here, like doing the bow to the sensei, or right before you kick somebody in the face. Like, we don't use the word bow, and that's one of the problems with understanding what worship is and how it works. Like, when you get to what the word actually means, that doesn't help us at all because we don't practice that. We don't do that. I can't tell you the last time I bowed to somebody. I might have done it ironically or sardonically, as a way of saying I'm pretending to like you, but I don't really. But yeah, like bowing is hard for us. The little bit that we do understand of it, right? Because like for a lot of cultures, you bow to somebody who's like got charge over you. Like if we were going to bow in the society, the people that we would bow to are our politicians. No, nope, no sir, all set. So we just got through some political stuff, and I don't know about you, but like if I never see another political ad, I'm gonna be all right. I'll be fine. It's just this idea of like, oh, look how awesome I am. Like I don't know if I could ever even be a politician. I don't want to be a part of that whole thing of like, oh, I'm so great. Look at my megawatt smile or whatever. Like I don't know. Is it just me? The whole idea of worshiping somebody or like putting somebody up on a pedestal, it just seems like it sets you up for failure. Why do we worship? Why does that make any sense at all? Why do we bow? Well, there's a passage for that. This is from Romans chapter 12. And I know we hit Romans chapter 12 quite a lot. That's because it's an awesome chapter and you should read it very, very often. But I'm going to read a part. I'm going to talk about a part that we usually don't talk about, the worshiping part. Here we go. Therefore, I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as living sacrifices, holy and pleasing to God. This is your spiritual act of worship. Or I'm going to give you a better translation of that, maybe one that makes more sense. This is your act of worship that might make sense to you, that is logical to you, something that you can understand. Do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. For by the grace given to me, I say to every one of you, ... And then Paul goes on to list 36 different things that we can do to worship God. And none of them are bowing. See, this is the issue that he's up against, is he's writing this letter, the letter to the Romans, to a church, part of whom are Jewish. And so they understand the practice of bowing down because that's something they do culturally. But he's also writing to Gentiles, and they do not have that practice. And so he's got to help them understand, okay, but this is what worship means. This is how you do it if you're not used to doing it. This is a type of worship that might make sense to you. So let me show you the list of things that Paul suggests. 36 different ways of showing your worship or honor of God. I love the first one. That's got to be my favorite. Let your mind heal. It all starts in here. Let your mind heal. That is worship, folks. Learn to hear from God, which is, by the way, how we let our minds heal. And then he goes into a great list here. Be humble. Be faithful. Be unified, right? Tell the truth. Serve one another. Ooh, teach one another. Yes, we should definitely do that. Encourage one another. Give. Lead. Actually, he says lead well. Do a good job of it. Show mercy. You see what he's saying? What is worship? Worship is fixing things. It's doing good. It's loving people. Literally, that's the next one, is how do you worship God? By loving. How do you worship God? By avoiding hurtful things, by clinging to healthy things, by showing devotion and honoring one another, by being zealous, by being joyful. That's worship. God wants us to be joyful because that's our worship of him, that we enjoy him by being patient, by being faithful in prayer and sharing with others, by being hospitable and blessing our enemies. Ooh, wow, we were doing so good. But you see, like he's talking about fixing the world. Listen, folks, if you want to honor me, God says, if you want to honor me, I need you to be fixers in the world. I need you to care for the world, even parts of the world that you don't like, even your enemies. Bless your enemies. And he goes on to say, rejoice with those who rejoice, mourn with those who mourn, live in harmony, associate with people of low position. Like if somebody's sitting in a middle school lunchroom all alone, go sit with that person. That's a wonderful idea that God counts that as worship. Like if I did that this week, if I hung out with somebody that other people don't like to hang out with, I worship God this week. Don't be conceited. Don't be evil. Do what's right. Live at peace. Don't take revenge. Don't take revenge. Feed your enemies. Resist evil and then overcome that evil with good. What is worship? Worship is fixing things. That's what he's saying. He's saying, okay, there's a form of worship that you're not accustomed to. Let me tell you about some things that you probably already know how to do. Loving people and caring for people and forgiving your enemies and praying for those who persecute you. That is worship. And I think we know this, at least in the reverse, right? This is something that I think we're commonly aware of when it doesn't work out. If you've ever had a quote-unquote friend or an associate who was mean to you, who was unkind, and they were pushy, and they said mean things, eventually you're going to want to stop having a relationship with that person. That person, because they're not doing good things to you, they're not honoring you, and you feel dishonored. You feel like you're unimportant, like you're devalued by this person. By the way, if you don't know this, the English word worship literally means assigning value to. You feel devalued by that person because they're not doing caring things. I have had a friend like that in the past. Actually, several. So people who put me down and made fun of me, and not in sort of a funny kind of way, but like in a, no, I really think you're garbage kind of way. And like, obviously we're not friends anymore. That person wasn't willing to honor me. We know what honor is. We know what worship is because we know what it feels like when we are dishonored. All right, so I think so far everything I've said largely makes sense. Of course it's true that loving people honors God. Of course it's true that blessing our enemies honors God. That showing humility and unifying and loving one another. Of course those things are honoring to God. They're worshipful of God. I don't think that that's very surprising. I think the surprising part might have been when I told you what the word actually means. See, the funny thing is that Greek and Hebrew, they actually have the phrase do good. And this passage could have used that word. Hey, just go out and do good. But that's not the word it uses. It uses the word bow. It uses the word bow. And not just like bow. I mean like bow. Like all the way face to the ground bow. Why does that do that? How does bowing fix anything? Great question. All right, so imagine you are aliens, right? And you're in your spaceship and you come to this crazy planet Earth, and you're like, take me to your leader, right? All right, so, and imagine you come to this field, some random field, and there's 100 people in the field, and 99 of them are doing this, and then the other guy's still standing, right? You're not going to ask who's the leader, take me to your leader. You already know who the leader is. This guy's still standing, right? Bowing in the first century was a way of electing somebody ruler. A way of electing somebody president, a way of giving somebody the controls. I've got the controls, you've got the controls. When we do that, when we worship God, when we bow to God, we are electing him president. It's our way of saying, I want you to rule in my life. I want you at the controls. This is the difference maker in your life. If you're struggling with something, whatever it is, my guess is part of the answer to that is going to be how you worship God. Because worship is fixing things. That's what worship is. That's what Paul is saying in Romans. That the things that we do to fix our lives and our relationships, the things that we do to fix our relationships with our kids and our wife or our husband, the things that we do to fix our own minds, right? That was the very first thing, is let your mind be healed. Those things are worship. And I think we go sideways a lot because we forget. And, Paul threw out a list of 36 things just off the top of his head. He could have kept going for the whole rest of the Bible. There's an endless list of things that we can do to worship God, to value God, to honor God by caring for each other and by showing love and care for God himself. So this time last year I preached a sermon. It was a very hard sermon for me to preach. Last year was not good for me. The end of last year was very, very bad. And I'm not going to go into why again. But for those of you who remember that sermon, I'm going to let your memory serve. But essentially what happened was I was flying along in my life with my hands firmly on the controls. And because I don't really understand life or the world that well, I flew my plane into a barn. Very much into a barn that was already on fire, and I probably was upside down when I did it. So, and I remember preaching about this at the time. What I had been doing was I was holding on to the controls, and I wouldn't let them go. I wouldn't let them go. I wouldn't let God take control of my life. And so this whole year has been dedicated to this one proposition. I'm going to learn how to yield things to God. I'm going to learn how to make God ruler and president in my life. I'm going to learn how to give God the controls. And I'll say that I am doing better. Things have gotten better, not maybe 100% better. The thing is like it is a learning process. Like you don't just hop in the cockpit of an airplane and all of a sudden everything's better, right? That's not how it works. It takes time. It takes lessons. Like in the flight of life, we all always need lessons. Like I say, he listed 36 things. He could have listed 1,000. I'm still learning how to care for myself. I'm still learning how to care for God. I'm still learning how to care for you guys. We're all still learning. And so we need to get better at this idea of letting go of the controls every now and again and letting God rule. Worship is fixing. And I don't know what barns in your life are on fire currently. As you're flying along in life, maybe it's dipping a little bit low and you don't know what went wrong and you don't know enough about how it works to get out of that. There's a guy in the co-pilot seat that knows that stuff pretty well. As we learn to trust him, as we learn to follow him, as we learn to give him the controls, he'll start to make our life better. And I hope that for you, especially in this coming season where we're coming up on some things that we're going to need help on. So I do hope and pray for that. And in order to close well, I'm going to do something that I should be doing more often. I'm going to pray for that. God, I definitely hope that you cause this message to sit in my own heart. I am a control freak, which I'm telling you something that you absolutely know, and that does not help me. I love to have my hands on the controls, and it's so hard for me to let go. But God, I don't understand the world well enough. Like, I don't even understand your word well enough. I think a lot of times, I run into the wall, I run into the barn upside down because I haven't been letting you run the show. God, show me what I need to do. Show me, what parts of my life I need to let go and let you take control. You want good for us, Father. You want us to be unified. You want us to be in a loving community. You want us to be hospitable and caregivers. You want us to have joy. And that's what I hope for me and for everybody listening. In Christ's name, amen. Hey, Jake.
The song's called Sweetly Broken.
Suffering I do.
cross you, beckon me, draw me gently to my knees, and I am lost for words, so lost in love. I'm sweetly broken, holy surrender at the cross. You beckon me, draw me gently to my knees, and I am lost for words, so lost in love. I'm sweetly broken, holy surrender.
Thanks again, Jake. So, there's a lot of things I could have talked about this morning. I got to choose my own topic, which, means that worship, I think, is one of the very most critical, crucial things we can do for our spiritual life, for the happiness and joy in our life, for pulling out of the dives of our lives. And there's a lot of different words that hover right close to worship. Like love is very close to worship. Obedience is very close to worship. Those kind of things. Serving is very close to worship. But the word itself, the word actually means letting God be God in your life. And so when I read that list of 36 things, some of those things I'm all right with, encouraging one another, and I lead sometimes, and I try to be faithful. One of the ones that really stuck out to me that I don't do very well, one of the ways I don't follow God or let God be God in my life very well, is that hospitability thing. It's like making space for other people and caring and looking out for other people. I was cleaning my house the other day, and I just reflected on how seldom I ever have anybody over my house. And granted, okay, it's COVID, blah, 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 but I never did even before COVID. I'm not a very hospitable person. I was thinking, I felt like God was saying, I need to do a better job of that. And the reason is, especially I think right now, people are feeling very isolated. I think a lot of you are probably feeling very isolated. And one of the core things that the church is supposed to do is to give you community, to give you a sense of belonging, home, right? And that's what hospitality is giving people a home. So we're going to keep trying to give you guys space to meet, and even if that's virtual space, and we're doing the best that we can. Don't give up meeting together, to quote Hebrews. It's one of the great blessings of God's plan. It's one of the ways that we can fix the world and honor and worship God, is by continuing to meet together, however that works. And so I pray and hope that you'll find a way to do that. We miss you, and we love you, and we'll see you next week.
Cliff, can you let them know 4 people signed up for Thanksgiving Day meals? One more plug.
Oh, yeah. We can do it, guys. Go to your computer, and we just need 26 more, 25 more, and that would be awesome. I'll go do it myself. Actually, I already did it. Bye.